I'm Najah Imani Muhammad, and this is the Reparations Show.
Don't want no spare change or handout. I see that everywhere I go. Want you to reach right in your conscience, baby, and give me everything I'm owed. I'm talking about them reparations, reparations. Oh, honey, give me all my money, money. Reparations, reparations. Give me everything you owe. Reparations, reparations. For all them years of frustrations. This is the freaking Reparations Show.
Reparations. Oh, okay, we are on. I was jamming to that for multiple reasons because that song hits different. And secondly, because my pockets are empty right now and I definitely need some reparations. As I mentioned before, my name is Najah Imani Muhammad and I am your host this evening. Who am I, you may ask? Najah Imani Muhammad. I am a daughter, a sister, a friend, a voter, a diplomat. I don't have anything dramatic. I'm just a woman trying to get by. You know, I'm an actor, I'm a theater educator, and most importantly, I'm someone who likes to communicate with other people. And so that's what this show is going to be about. We are going to be chatting. Tonight's theme, post-election. Now, when we started planning the show, we thought that we would have some results and know who the president of the United States of America would be, and we don't yet. So I don't know how much about the post-election we're going to be talking about, but I'm sure the guests we have some feelings. I just wanted to start the show off a little bit differently than I had planned, and that's just because we are living in a time of unrest, unease. Lots of difficult things are happening. So I decided this week to take note on things that I do myself to keep myself uplifted and to frankly survive. So I put a list together of tips on surviving the days and weeks ahead. My first question for everyone is, how have you been sleeping this week? Now, I recognize that I'm the only person on the screen, so I guess I'm not going to really get an answer, but I've heard that a lot of people haven't gotten much rest. I want to let you know that this week I gotten more rest than I have for the entirety of 2020, and that's because I decided to just sleep because I knew that no matter what, when I woke up, we'd still be in the same exact boat as we were before. So that's my number one tip to you is go to bed. You're going to wake up and find out who the president is. You don't have to keep watching it. This is not an @ sign to you, mommy. I know you're watching. I know you haven't gotten much sleep, but come on, sister, friend, mother, go to sleep. Second tip, essential oils. I'm all about self-care. And I used to laugh at people who bought oil diffusers and essential oils because that sounded like a waste of money. I got plenty of oil. I got avocado oil, coconut oil, olive oil, but essential oils really make a difference. So here are some scents that I've been particularly really interested in this week. A good old tea tree oil, eucalyptus, pair them together, sweet bliss. And then you've got the brands of Easy Mood. Yes, yes. Feel Good. Everyone needs to feel good right now. Anxiety relief. Now, it's important to know the difference between being anxious and having anxiety, but this one will solve both. And finally, my favorite that I just bought, which is called Hurry Up Pennsylvania and Dump Trump. Definitely buy that one, but not on Amazon. Support Black business owners. Another thing I'd love to suggest to you is to get a weighted blanket. Now, this is the one thing that will help you to feel safe, seen, and heard in 2020. Like when I tell you, it will truly, truly make you feel loved and protected. Unless, of course, it's too heavy and it makes you feel suffocated, in which case it's not for you. I have that blanket because my dad was not with it. And finally, that's H2O, hydrogen to oxygen. For those of you who still believe in science, hydrogen to oxygen can save your life. Life-changing, I promise you. This commercial has been brought to you by the Llama Pants McGee. I don't know what that was about, but drink water. What are you doing? Some of you friends text me and you say you haven't drinking water all day. Well, that's probably why you have a headache. Drink water. And this big one is respond to your inbox. Now, it's surprising how peaceful it can be to sort of clean up 3 months worth of emails. I did that this week, knowing that it would be the perfect 12-hour escape from reality. I will warn you, though, once people start replying to you, you might want to go back to the essential oils because then things get a little bit anxiety inducing once again. All jokes aside, you got to really, really take care of yourself. This is a really difficult time. We are still living in the middle of a pandemic. We don't have election results. and life is going to always throw challenges at us. So do what you can do for you. All the things I mentioned, I made a little joke about them, but they really have been getting me through the week. So I encourage you to find something to help you get through the week. So before I introduce our first guest, who I'm super excited about, I'm going to tell you this new breathing technique that's been really calming for me and the third graders that I teach. I don't know what it's called. You can Google it later, but it's really, really helpful. So what you're going to do is you're going to follow my fingers sitting at home, or you could just kick back and drink whatever you're drinking, because, you know, who really follows what live streamers do? We're going to breathe in for 2 and exhale for 4. We're going to do that 3 times. Try it with me. Get ready. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale for 4. Last one, make it worth it. Inhale. Exhale. Now, as I mentioned, I'm an actor, and breath is really the anchor for all actors. And that calmed me right down after I was getting a little bit chaotic. And I'm sure I'll get a little chaotic in a bit. But I'm just super excited to have everyone here who is streaming in live. And I'm very excited about my first guest, which is none other than Antu Jacob. Now, I got to tell you, Antu is incredible. Antu is an actor, a writer, a producer, a breath of fresh air, and my high school voice teacher. I went to a summer program called Rutgers Summer Acting Conservatory, which was paired up with Mason Gross School of the Arts. And I literally owe my voice to her. Antu, you're going to hear her when she comes up. She has this voice that is so peaceful. She taught me about breath. I remember being 16 years old and laying on the floor, having never been in a studio acting class before, and actually crying. And Antu, we'll talk about this later, but I had my legs up in the air and you had us say, I have no apologies. And that's something I often say now as someone who's 28 years old, 12 years later. I have no apologies, because we need to live as Black people, as Black women in this world, unapologetically, unabashedly. And so, Antu, I owe my voice to you. Thank you so much. We are going to check out some work from Antu. We're going to check out a trailer of Antu's show, Love and Submission, and then talk to her about that and what she's feeling after the election. Take it away, Morgan. Let's see this trailer.
أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله.
You must be Orgy.
Yes.
So nice to finally meet you. I'm Amira.
Is this what your hometown smells like? It's the answer to your question.
I feel freer.
Like you could just stay here. Present. Forever.
Yeah.
He showed you pictures of me. What else did you and my husband talk about?
I didn't come here to hurt you. I felt like you should know. May I come in, sister?
Yes. Antu.
Hi, Najah. Hello.
Oh, your energy honestly feels like a warm hug to me. It's so great to see you.
It's so great to see you. And I loved watching your intro and all of like your personality and all your quirks. And you have a lovely voice. Like I can hear the quality of your voice.
Yes.
I'm so excited to see you. And it's amazing to me that you've grown up to be such a wonderful entertainer and an artist. So thank you for having me on the show, and congratulations to you and Kevin and the whole Reparations show team. I'm excited to be here.
Yes, I'm excited to have you. Truly, I feel like, I mean, and you might feel this way too with past acting teachers you had. When you get to do some sort of work with them years later, I'm geeking out right now. I feel like I should ask for your autograph. Not to mention all the things you've been doing.
Oh, stop. Please stop it.
Yes. Yes. So super excited to have you here. We're going to talk about the election and how you're feeling in a moment, but let's start by chatting about love and submission. So I am, I'm not going to say obviously, but I am a Muslim woman. So I am so intrigued by this play of yours. And the trailer was perfect because it left us with a cliffhanger. So don't give away too much, but tell us why you came up with this show and what it's about.
So what you just watched is actually a trailer to our short film. And the short film is was adapted from the opening scene of a play that I wrote called Love and Submission. So the story stemmed from a couple of different real life scenarios or situations that I knew about, that from like family members and friends who, you know, I think a lot of people who are not familiar with the Muslim faith, they hear about the multiple wives and they don't really understand that there's like a certain way to do it, where you seek permission, you have a conversation with your wife before you take on other wives. And sometimes people do it that way, and then sometimes people don't do it that way. Sometimes there's like a deceitful way that it's done. And then other times people work out the arrangement and it's like, actually, they love it. There's not just one way to look at that. No matter how I feel about it personally, I do know that there's not just one way to look at that relationship structure and dynamic, because people do it so many different ways. But I've always found it interesting that there was, there were rules set down. And I've heard about certain stories where, somebody did not do it that way. And then, and this is like this is a fictionalized story based on some of those stories. And I really explore these two women who, they practice the same faith, but they practice it, they have a different way of practicing it. And they also have different backgrounds. So there's two things I wanted to explore. Like, first of all, is this lifestyle, can it work, within like the Black Muslim community? Is this something that actually is, can work within relationship dynamics? And then the other thing I wanted to explore too was like, there's more than one Black Muslim female. I think that's a huge misconception. So I just wanted to explore these things through this little story. And I had a lovely director who signed on, Lande Yusuf, who, she was raised Muslim and she kind of understood the way in. And we tried to like do justice as best as we could to these characters.
Yeah, absolutely. Is there a place that people can watch the full short film?
So it's right now, it's in the festival circuit. It's the next film festival it's in is called Women of the Lens Film Festival. And that's based in the UK, but it's going to be online. So if you follow me or you follow the film on Instagram, Facebook, you'll see when we put the screening dates. But the festival actually starts November 16th and goes through December 14th. So it's within next month that you'll be able to watch it. You just kind of have to watch for when we post it. And then sometime next year, we're working with a distribution company that has included our short film in a collection of films by Black filmmakers, and they'll be streaming it online at some point. So just follow me, follow us, and then, you'll be able to find out when and where you can watch it.
Awesome. So you gotta really follow along for the journey. I love it.
Yes.
So I do have one more question. How has it been received, right? Because first of all, I love that you said there's so many different types of Black Muslim women. And I love the representation. I love watching movies and short films and seeing plays where some version of me is represented. And then I often go on Facebook, and whenever there's anything in the media, I see certain Muslims who are like, this is not what our religion's about, and you shouldn't be showing this. And I don't mean to mock them. Like you said earlier, everyone has their own views. But because we're all human, I love seeing all the different styles of practicing any kind of religion. So I'm wondering what kind of feedback have you been met with people who've seen the film, the short film?
I haven't heard anyone who was like, I hate this. You know, I've heard, I've heard what is the potential. Like I've heard people who support me say, you know, the potential is, you know, people are going to really have a problem with this part of the story. But I haven't heard anything. And I hope that people watch it and they understand that, you know, I was just trying to honor these people and this situation. And not that I was trying to say like, this is bad, or this is good. Like as a storyteller, I've always been interested in that gray area. Yeah. And, you know, where it leaves, where the short film ends, it certainly leaves it open for it to be developed, you know, into a feature. I would actually really like to develop it into a TV show. So when you were calling it a show, I was like, oh, okay. Yes, I would like to. You did, because it's something I've thought about. We haven't went back and like hashed it out, but it ends in a place where you kind of don't, you know, but you don't really know. So I like that that's open. And at the end of the day, people are just really protective of their beliefs, you know, whether they're Christian, whether they're Jewish or they're Muslim, especially if they're very devout. So I understand if someone has a negative reaction to it, but I'm certainly not trying to instigate it, and I'm not going to be offended by it, because I can't say that I'm the sole representative of the faith. You know, I have such a mixed upbringing, you know, in terms of faith anyway. So if anyone wants to talk to me about it, I'm open to talk and I can explain to them where I'm coming from. But I mean, some people are just really sensitive. They're like, nothing should be, you should do nothing about this. And then I've had, you know, most of the people who've watched it, they're like-minded, you know, they may be practicing, but they're a little bit more like contemporary. So they're like very supportive of the storyline. So
yeah,
I don't know.
Everything you've said just makes me feel like I need to write you later and get that link and not wait, because I'm just so intrigued. This is awesome. And when you get that, when you know, we were joking around earlier with Kevin, but when you get that TV show, listen, you know, young Muslim woman, if you got an auntie role, sister.
You're too young to be an auntie. What are you talking about?
You're right. Young auntie.
You're wise. You know, you're definitely wise. Yes. But
daughter,
you got a lot of youth in there.
You know what it is? It's because I'm hearing my 8-year-old niece in the other room. So I feel like auntie, but you're right. I'm not auntie. I'm not the 45, 65 auntie. You're right.
Yeah.
So wonderful. We're going to chat.
Yes, I would love it.
Good. And then we're going to talk a little bit more later too, but you mentioned that people are so protective of their beliefs. And I feel that's a wonderful transition into this election. So I don't want to get into it too much, but yes, the facial expression says it all. How are you feeling in regards to the mess, the hot mess that is this country right now? And yes, that is my belief. I know not everyone feels that way, but I'm putting it out there because this is my show today. I'm calling it a hot mess. And Antu, how are you feeling about it?
Well, listen, we're going to find out eventually, like you said in your intro. At some point, you're going to wake up and we're going to know who the winner is. The thing that shocked me the most as I was watching it was how close the race is, I think. You know, that's a real, like, especially in the southern states, for me, it was just a real reminder, because I'm not around a lot of people who spew a lot of like that, you know, ideology that's connected to Trump supporters. But seeing the numbers and how close it is, I'm like, wow, there are people who still believe like this way. And so I was just, I was just dealing with that. And then I also got really tired of like the journalists, God bless them, because they have to work, you know, all day, all night. But I find that they're like, we haven't heard from Trump. He's quiet. He's, you know, and I'm like, stop instigating the man. Like, just let him be quiet. Let them be quiet till they count all these votes. Okay. Just leave it alone. So I had to shut off the TV. Those are the two things that got me. But after that, I can't do anything. Like I voted when I voted, and there's nothing. It's not in my control after that. You know.
Yes, I do know. And listen, it's mind-boggling and it makes me sick. I've been literally drinking like ginger drinks to ease my stomach all week. But like you said, let him be quiet. We're going to talk more about this in just a moment, but I would love to introduce Kevin Arfree, who is, of course, we all know, he asked for no introduction, but I love this man. Actor, playwright, director, producer, unofficial model with those dimples, low-key, high-key comedian. And the reason we are here tonight, Kevin Arfree, with This Week in Reparations.
Hey, that was a great conversation with Antu. I can't wait to talk to her later. And Najah, you are amazing, an amazing host. So here we are at This Week in Reparations. And as you know, or maybe you don't know, every week I try to interview somebody white who has donated their time to the show. And this week we have Mike Daisey. And before he comes out here to talk to me, I want to show you a little video from one of his solo shows called The Trump Card. And I saw an early version of The Trump Card in 2016 at the Guthrie Theater in Minneapolis. It was like the first stop on a tour of this play that was basically about Donald Trump and what he has done, or what he had done already to the country before he became president. And I remember seeing the show and loving it and also being really chilled by it. And I asked Mike Daisey at the talkback afterwards, do white people see you as a race traitor for talking about Donald Trump in this way? And I remember his response was something like, what? No. But after you watch this short video about the play, I'm going to ask him again to see, if people are now calling him a race traitor. Morgan, go ahead and roll the video.
Maybe we could say that. I mean, it's a powerful word, allegedly. I mean, it's where we're sitting right now, aren't we? I try to do this show. I try to keep things in line. News keeps asserting itself. It's so annoying, Like just a day ago, people were like, oh my God, Donald Trump talks this way about women. What a shock. This is so shocking. This is so terribly shocking that he speaks this way about women. We can't even say it's allegedly, because here's the tape of him actually saying, when I do decide to sexually assault a woman, this is exactly how I do it. I have a lot of power. Just grab them by their fucking pussy. That's what I do. It shouldn't be that surprising, though, right? You guys were paying attention, right? Like, you know that, like 8 years before the tape was recorded, there's a woman who brought suit against him for attempting to sexually assault her. And, there are descriptions of it in her depositions. She's very clear that he cornered her in a room multiple times and each time tried to grab her pussy. She's really clear about that. But I mean, that's just allegedly. That's probably just a coincidence that he describes in private conversations that he enjoys using his power to sexually assault women. And this is how he does it. And then years earlier, there's a court deposition about how exactly he tried to sexually assault a woman. I mean, after all, that's just one woman. And I think we've learned from recent history, we need like 20 women. Right? Isn't it 20? Maybe it's 25. I can't remember. When they all add up to like one white man. I think it's about 25 women is when we start listening, somewhere around there. So, yeah, so it's just one woman. It is creepy though, right? It's creepy that it's like exactly that's creepy. If there were more people, that would be disturbing. Like his wife, who brought charges of rape against him. You knew that though, right? I mean, everybody keeps track of this stuff. I mean, I do. I'm doing the show. I mean, she retracted those later. I mean, she didn't really retract them. She just said that it was rape. It was just the kind of rape that happens between a husband and a wife. Totally. I've been married. Sure. I'm trying to remember all the times that I was just raping my wife in that way that you do. Probably right after I grab her pussy. You know, after that locker talk that I have with other guys where we talk about how we sexually assault people. See, this is getting further and further afield from my liberal experience of what it's like to be in the world. And I'm trying to have an open mind to be like, some people talk this way. They're just in a locker room and they're just like, let's all discuss how we rape people. And then they have a conversation about it. But I'm having less and less points where I remember that happening because that's never happened to me. So, I mean, if we're looking for a pattern, I mean, I'm just saying that if the pattern I laid out to you for the father works, and we all think that's terribly funny, we could do it again. I could lay them all next to each other, but I'm kind of afraid to do it because basically it feels like we're just saying he's allegedly a fucking rapist is what we're allegedly saying. He's allegedly a fucking rapist who doesn't think women are human beings. He thinks they're fucking objects they can use power to fucking rape. That's what I'm saying. Allegedly.
All right, everybody, please welcome Mike Daisy. Everybody's clapping. They're all clapping. Mike Daisy, thank you so much for coming on the show. How are you doing tonight? Can you hear me? Are you there? Mike Daisy? You're very quiet. Oh, God. So, hey. What's going on? Can you hear me talking to you?
Hello?
Yeah, I'm talking to you. Yes.
Hello.
Yes. Can you hear me talking? I am talking to you. I hear you. We hear you, Mike Daisy. This is so strange.
I'm glad you can hear me. I can't hear you or see anything.
Oh, okay. How's this?
Okay.
Is this better? Is this better? No, not at all. Okay, hold on.
Oh man. I'm gonna try relaunching this.
Morgan, send Mike out, and I'm going to talk for another second. So we're having a technical difficulty. We saw Mike Daisy. He is here, and he does want to talk to us, but there is something going on with the with our stream. It's fine. When he comes back, we're going to talk to him about the Trump card. Oh, he can see in here. Come back in, Mike Daisy. Come back in. Hey!
Hello. I'm so sorry about it. I don't know what happened.
Things happen. It's no big deal. So I asked you how you doing tonight, even without cannabis gummies, which are my favorite things that I've started using during the pandemic to sleep.
I'm doing okay, considering that, you know, a bunch of people, the media establishment is coddling my abuser, who is our abuser.
Yeah.
And haven't actually announced that he's lost this election.
Yeah.
And so I'm finding that difficult now because I really feel like at this point, I understand some degree of the logic of waiting till literally everything is counted, but at the same time, I don't, because it just feels like coddling a narcissist. So it's a little tough.
Well, they've been coddling him for 4 years. I mean, longer than that. I think, you know, when they treated his candidacy as a joke and didn't think about how serious it was. One of the things that you said in the Trump card, do you remember me asking you that question?
I do remember that. I remember it really vividly.
Oh yeah. So
yeah,
I want to talk about that for a second, but then I'll tell you what, like the moment in the play that really chilled me to the bone, because I knew that it was so right. But go ahead, talk to me about that question that I asked you that day 4 years ago.
Well, it's interesting because what I remember now, reflecting back on it, and it didn't like, this isn't a case where the question then sat with me and I was like, instead, because here's the thing, it stuck with me in this particular way that in the following years, I started doing more and more anti-racism work with myself. And then I did this giant show, A People's History, which has a lot of like things that it's basically an 18-part 34-hour version of Howard Zinn's People's History. And
Oh, wow.
so it has a lot of things that, that people would be upset about about that someone's talking to them. So I had an opportunity to like actually think a lot more deeply about race. Because I'll tell you, in 2016, in terms of my work was very rarely about race before that. And so I think one of the things that happened is my reaction, I think, was fundamentally true. But I think appreciate like what I would say now, having learned from doing a people's history for a couple of years, is that they don't consider me a race traitor, and that's actually the point, because I have so much privilege as a white man, and like
Uh-huh.
a sort of friendly looking white man. Especially I'm sitting in a theater and I'm making you laugh, so I'm also like comedic white man. So they give me a tremendous amount of slack to shiv them with. And
Yes.
it actually takes a tremendous amount for them to actually see me that way. And that's the power of that privilege, is I can actually get in there and
Yeah.
they'll take it. And I didn't actually fully understand that power when I
Yeah.
was using it in that show in 2016. I hadn't actually fully understood how effective that was going to be.
Well, I want to say two things in response to that. And one is that those of us who also make a lot of theater and are like me, Black, would look at your work before even you started really focusing on race as work that is about race, because it was about whiteness to a certain extent. It was about how it was your privilege, but you didn't know that you were talking about your privilege in the world, right? And so one of the reasons I asked if people thought you were a race traitor was because there weren't a lot of white people at that time talking about Donald Trump in that way. Black people that I knew were always talking about him and the stuff that he said about the Central Park Five and all
Yeah,
of that stuff. Like we all and I mean, and the stuff that he did to the people who lived in his buildings and the
right.
suing of the government before the government could sue him, right? So all of that. And then the second thing is that I have found, as a person who looks relatively friendly and is charming, that I can do a lot of talking about race with a smile on my face and shiv people with that in the same way. And yet it's different coming from me because it still feels threatening. Like
Right,
we laugh and then later we think, oh God, was he talking about me? Oh my God, he was talking
right.
about me. It's like my partner is a white man, and he was really surprised about how close everything was, how close the votes are. And I had been
Hmm.
telling him for a week, I was like, he's probably going to be president again. The rich win always. The ones who convince us that they are rich, they always win. And that leads me to the thing that chilled me the most about the Trump card. There's a moment, I just want you to talk about it for a minute. There's a moment at the end where you have an imagined discussion with Roy Cohn.
Yes.
And in this discussion with Roy Cohn, you ask him, do you think that Trump will win? And
Yes.
your response is, please tell us what. And this is 2016. This was 2 months before the election. What tell us a little bit about that.
Oh, what happens in that imagined conversation with Roy Cohn? Because what happens is he's sort of a character at the beginning of the play. You don't realize that it's Roy Cohn until it's revealed right here near the end, and then we have this conversation, and I ask him, in the conversation, do you think he's going to win? And Roy Cohn laughs, a kind of like dry kind of laugh that I perform, and then he says, he's won already. And then he lays out this argument that it doesn't actually matter if Trump wins or not, because he's now illuminated the path, like exactly how you can use open racism to stoke white nationalism. And if it's not Trump, it's going to be somebody worse after him, because the worst people are the ones that aren't even going to have to invent this system. because now they don't know it's there. So they'll actually able to be smarter than Trump is, and sharper, and a little better at navigating all the complexities of politics, and then they'll just walk down that road.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it chilled me because I knew that it was true when you said it. I knew that it was true in a way that I've always known about. I mean, I say to my partner when anything happens, I was like, that's your people, honey. That's your folks. That's white folks right there doing that. And I don't believe in the humanity of white people in this sense. The number of people who will tell me that, social things will work themselves out, but what we really need is to vote for fiscal responsibility.
Right.
But that's really just about them having more money always than me. But
Yeah.
you can't really get them to hear that. I can't get them to hear that when they say it. So it has caused some very deep conversations with my partner, which I think is ultimately going to make us stronger. But so Mike Daisy, before I send you off to watch the rest of the election returns.
Oh my God, please don't send me off to that. It's been the same horrible, repetitive garbage.
No, I want you to stay and continue and watch the rest of the show, but I feel like you need to be telling us, you need to be updating us on what the hell is happening in the world. I mean, now that Biden is officially ahead in all of these places, I want to know what you're working on during the pandemic. Are you taking it easy? Are you laying low? What's going on? What's next for you?
Well, I had a big show that was supposed to start its first workshop in mid-March at Arena Stage. And so that's been put on kind of an indefinite hiatus because I think it's a live show.
Yeah.
That is a giant monologue in 3 parts. So it's actually like 3 nights of a show.
Wow.
And the evenings are, the show's called The Change. And the evenings are yesterday, today, and tomorrow. And the show is about the history of our relationship with climate change. And it's about specifically not educating us because if we're in the American theater, we know enough about that. Yeah. It's specifically about the cognitive dissonance and the history of how we ignore it and how that's evolved today, yesterday, and how we see it progressing into the future.
Wow.
And so that is a big show that but I think it's coming back when the world is back.
Yeah.
And so in the meantime, I've been working on a couple different things, and I'm kind of specifically working on a show that I contacted Spalding Gray's widow, and I'm talking about creating a show that is a new version of Spalding's Interviewing the Audience, which I would do and adapt to run on Zoom.
Oh,
because
very
I think there's something about the Zoom format that actually fixes some of the biggest problems with that show, which is namely that it's always awkward to sort of poll an audience in any way in a live setting. But on Zoom, it's actually easy or relatively easy. And so I'm trying to create a show built out of interviewing the audience that will involve some degree of monologue, but then dialogue and interviews with different people that are there.
Yeah.
To build an arc, a narrative for each episode of the show. And so that's something I'm working on now.
When you talked to Spalding Gray's widow, you didn't say that you wanted to fix the problems with the show, did you?
I didn't put it quite that way. I said it was an opportunity to reinvent it for the 21st century. I think
Beautiful.
I think I had an attractive. We've known each other for a long time, so okay. She'd be okay with that. She would get it. I've known her for a really long time. But yes,
that's
awesome. Will shock you to understand that possibly I do some degree of code switching myself, and possibly I am somewhat nicer about how I talk about things when I'm soliciting people to help me out.
Good.
But yeah, I'm working on that, and then I'm working on a show that is modeled on what I think is the dominant monologue form right now, which is actually confessional YouTube videos.
Oh,
And that's also a digital project, and it'd be a show called The Plague Years. And
very
it'd be
nice.
about a series of monologues, and each of the monologues is from me, but you start to realize they're all different versions of me in alternate versions of what's happening to all of us with very different plagues. And
Oh,
so each story is about a different plague playing out. Some are metaphysical plagues, some are plagues where people's shadows start eating them. Some of them are very realistic, but it's a different kind of pathogen.
yeah.
And some Hillary Clinton is president, some Trump is president.
Wow.
And then slowly a story starts to emerge that weaves together all these different worlds.
Oh, very nice. I would say that a perfect description for what has happened in 2020 or over the years of Trump's presidency is that the shadows have begun to eat us. In
Yeah.
general, I would say that's a perfect description of the time. Speaking of time, we are at time. You and I are at time. I really appreciate you coming on the show to talk to us. And I'm gonna look for all of the things that you drop in the next few months. But the first thing I'm gonna do at the end of the show is go back and look at the moment of me asking you questions and you just sitting there, because I think that is performance art. I was like, he is like really. I said, how you feel? I said, how you doing, Mike? And you just sat there. And I was like, whoa, this is, oh my God, nobody's ever done this before.
I'm going to have to go back and look at it. I know I was in that state you get in when you're like, any moment it's beginning. Any moment.
It was good. It was good shit. I think that we're going to use it as a promo for the show. Here's the scintillating conversation between Kevin R. Free and Mike Daisey. I mean, it's crazy. It's amazing. Anyway,
fantastic.
Thank you so much for coming on the show. Feel free to stay in the backstage and continue to watch. And I hope to have you on again sometime soon.
Okay, sounds great.
Thank you, Mike.
All right.
So that was Mike Daisey. Najah, come in here. Come in the room. Get in here.
I'm here.
We can bring Antu in too, but what I want to do is hey, who's there?
This is my niece.
Hi.
She's about to go to bed. She heard some of it. Don't worry, she wasn't watching the beginning Mike Daisey part.
Okay.
She came to my door and said she said she had some thoughts about the election, and I thought, you know what? We got Willow coming, who's 18. We got an 8-year-old. We got a 28-year-old. We have each decade. So I said, before bed, you can share a couple of your thoughts. So how do you feel about the election?
Do it. Give it.
Sometimes I feel it's a bit unfair because, both presidents or both candidates who are running have been done bad things. I mean, I know that's their past, but for example, Trump has done some bad things, and that's kind of normal for him to do. So I think it's a bit unfair. I mean, Joe Biden has done some things, like he ran against Americans. That was so not unfair and rude. But at the same time, Trump has done some illegal things, and why would we want to have a president like that?
I hear you. And this is from the eyes and ears of an 8-year-old. What is your advice? How have you been getting through this election season, knowing that there's grown-ups who feel uneasy? What advice do you have for us grown-ups?
Take deep breaths, pray, just calm down, stick to family, and you know what? God will, make the president who deserves it. But yeah.
And we'll get through it, right? You're going to do a flip into that bed, and you're going to teach me how to do a cartwheel, and we'll get by, right?
Yeah.
All right, Yazzie, thanks for the interruption. I love you.
It was nice to meet you. Bye. Oh my gosh, that's amazing. That is so amazing. She's so cute. And very smart. I am going to breathe and pray. And sometimes my praying looks like a glass of wine. But
listen, gotta have some faith somewhere, right?
That's all I'm saying.
Those grapes.
The grapes never let me down. The grapes never let me down. Listen, so today at around 2:00, my sister sent a text that was a screenshot of the numbers where Biden is leading in those 4 states that we're waiting for. And my favorite is Georgia, because all of those counties where they were counting those votes were mostly black counties, Cobb County and one of the others. My sister lives down there in Atlanta, and it's so close in Georgia that they have called that they have to do a recount. Shortly after that, my brother on the same thread sent me this video that was on Twitter, and Jamel Hill posted it, and I begged Joey and Erez and Morgan to put it in the show. And I just want to show you this video that somebody made. Jamel Hill tweeted, said, "I don't know who made this, but they deserve a round of applause." So roll that video, please, Morgan.
All of these states that we've won tonight, and then you take a look at the kind of margins that we've won them by. Frankly, we did win this election.
Will you shut up, man?
Mr. Vice President, I'm speaking. I'm speaking. On your left.
We can't just imagine a better future. We've got to fight for it.
I'm speaking.
We want all voting to stop.
I wrote the damn bill.
Is that everyone? Like you wanted more?
Now, every vote must be counted. No one's going to take our democracy away from us.
Avengers!
Assemble.
Oh my goodness.
Wow. I swear, when
I lost it, and more people. That's how I felt when I watched that movie. But then I said, "Not the little girl, Greta." Oh my God, we got John Lewis. They brought people back.
I love the idea that, because I've been saying I'm on this listserv with these Black journalists, and we've been talking about John Lewis all week. It was like John Lewis is up there making this happen for all of us in Georgia. I just love that video so much. All right, so I wanted to show that to you. I hope you enjoyed it. I think that you have another guest that you want to introduce, so I am going to not take up any more time, but I'll come back if you want me to talk to you in a bit.
Absolutely. We can chat more about this election after we introduce Willow, but that cracked me up. I mean, when President Obama came out and they were the Black Panther crew, I mean, I lost it. I was waiting to see, I was like, is it going to be Chadwick? Which, rest in peace, that's my guy for real. But that was wonderful. I need to watch that again. We're going to introduce Willow Benison, who is absolutely wonderful. And we're going to wait to continue this chat till she's on here. Another young individual, as I mentioned, 18 years old. She's a young actor and singer who will be going to Howard University for BFA acting next fall. Yes!
Come on.
She chose to defer this year before she knew that the pandemic was happening, and that was a smart choice. And she's also a recent alum to my high school. Shout out to Oakwood Friends School in Poughkeepsie, New York. And we've been kind of working together for the past several months, and she's a legit soul sister. So I remember telling Willow about how to register several months back, and now she registered to vote. She voted, and she's also been using the pandemic to get into her singing. So we're going to watch a video from an original song of Willow and then chat with her.
I didn't know what to say when I first saw you. I ran away because I couldn't believe my eyes. I didn't know how to love till that summer, but maybe I could try. I felt this way since I can remember. Please stay with me when it gets cold, 'cause I keep missing you every winter. I don't know what my heart has been for since I found you. Turn up the radio, play our song. Call up the melody, I'll sing along. See how the evening flies, take me back. Come out of nowhere like you always do. Dance down the streets with me, just us two. Oh, how the stars lit up our words, our wasted youth. There's no one I'd rather sing with than you. Turn up the radio, play our song. Call out the melody, I'll sing along. See how the evening flies, take me back. When you love something and it's gone, it's hard to keep holding on. As the waves wash against the tide, I wish that I had said goodbye. For once I mean love, not as a lie. Not enough time, so little time. Turn up the radio, play our song. Call out the melody, I'll sing along. See how the evening flies, take me back.
Yes. Nope, I don't have it today. I don't have it. That was awesome, Willow.
That was beautiful.
Thank you. It truly was. Well, welcome, Willow. Welcome, welcome. How are you feeling tonight?
I'm good.
Yeah.
Election jitters, but good.
Election jitters. So my first question I had for you, and then I want to open it up to all of us, and I might bring Kevin back because I love him. Have you been finding music to be healing? I'm a theater teacher, as you know, and I keep telling my students that we can use our art form to be healing. And sometimes we just want to laugh, but I wonder, I don't know, I found some blocks during this time. So I'm wondering how other artists are coping. So for you, Willow, have you been playing more or less during this time of unease and jitters?
I think like at the beginning, it was less because I was so focused on, like paying attention to everything and making sure like I read every article and saw like every news feed. But then, after like Thursday, yesterday, I was I was kind of like, you know what, like I just need to put everything aside, like whatever happens is gonna happen. And I've just been kind of like, playing music, letting myself breathe and being kind of like, okay, it's fine, you're fine. It'll be over soon.
It'll be over soon. Absolutely. Even just listening to your song made me feel a bit more at ease. And I realized I haven't listened to music all week, and just playing music can be really helpful. And what about you, Antu? Have you felt that you've been able to access your art more during, I mean, I'm talking about the pandemic, I'm talking about the protests and of course the election, or have you felt stagnant? What has it been like for you?
Well, early on in the pandemic, I had a goal the last year or so to write a television pilot about a specific topic. And I was able to do it. I mean, I did it, you know, it took me a while, but by like July, August, I had finished this pilot that I wrote. And so that felt good. I also wrote a short play. And after that, you know, things started in September. I started getting more of a schedule, you know, because I'm teaching online. So that kind of started to distract me from my creative pursuits. But speaking about music, I discovered Spotify. I'm so like technologically like behind, okay? I discovered Spotify. It was already on my computer. And because I got a treadmill because I wasn't getting out at all. I was like, I need to exercise. Otherwise, my energy is just going to always be ugh.
Yep.
So I'm like, I need, okay, what is this Spotify? And then I found, like, first of all, I love dancehall reggae. Like, that's my favorite music to work out to. Like, I love it. So it's just like people have these lists that they make, you know, and I'm playlist. I'm just, all right, go ahead, play the list. Let's go. And but what was really fun on Sunday, I didn't work out, but I put the Spotify on, okay? And I came up on a 90s R&B, a 90s R&B playlist. And I got into like a whole Jodeci, like it was like I was SWV, Jodeci, you know, Tevin Campbell, going back. Okay, now you're gonna know how old I really am. But this is all the music that I grew up like. It nurtured my love for music, you know. And so I probably spent about 5 hours just like, I was supposed to be doing work. I was supposed to be grading papers, but I was like, what is this song? Let me get up and grab my remote control, you know, pretend to be Willow for a little bit. And it was really fun. I found that I just forget how much I rely on music, especially how much I relied on it as a youngster growing up, you know, to just connect. You know, get up and it gets you moving. It lifts your spirits. So yeah,
it feels so good. When you said you lost me after SWV, but when you said it,
Tevin Campbell, girl, go ahead. You need to look up "Round and Round," which was his first hit. He sounds so Prince-like. I see Kevin in the private chats. I almost wanted to look and find out if Prince produced that track because it sounds so much like his early music.
Yes.
Look up Tevin Campbell, look up High Five.
I will.
You know, they were amazing. Oh my goodness. So many good hits.
It's amazing how much music connects us too and brings up memories. Like you said SWV and I was like, I get so weak in the knees. And I remember being young and not knowing what that even means. But it feeds your soul. And I'm thinking about how, you know, people were going to the polls early and feeling like, oh, I'm on this long line, I'm hungry. And there was this video that circulated around Facebook where a guy just showed up with like a big, I don't know if it was a boombox, but music, and people were just dancing in the lines of the polls, right? Like it immediately alleviated some of the stress of being on a 4-hour long line. So it is wonderful. And I'm so happy, Antu, that you have found the power of Spotify.
Oh my God. I'm never going back to YouTube on my phone, okay?
Yes. What are some ways, other than, you know, music and staying busy, and Antu, I'm with you in terms of, I felt like over the summer I was creative. I was writing a lot. I was hosting more shows like this and even acting in some things. And then I started teaching. And that gives me another sense of release, being able to do this with young people. I joked earlier and said we might play a improv game online. We probably won't do it, but being able to do that with young people has been awesome. But what are other ways you've been staying connected to other people? This is a post-election conversation, but I feel like post-election, we need to figure out ways to stay connected to the people we love. So Willow, how are you staying connected? You just graduated high school. You weren't able to, oh my gosh, you weren't able to meet with your friends. How are you staying connected to people?
I mean, it's been rough because, you go from like being around your friends all the time, and then like March hit and I had to graduate on Zoom and, all of that. So it's been hard, but I think like, I'm just so grateful that we have all the technology that we do today, because without FaceTime and like calling each other every 5 seconds, I would not have gotten through it. But, with the group chats, like my whole senior class has a group chat still. We talk every day. We FaceTime twice a week, just like making sure that I text my friends back so I don't get into like an antisocial hole is kind of what has been keeping me sane.
Absolutely. It's at first I was like, I love all this time to myself, but now I'm finding like even this right now, me 2 years ago, Friday night, I'm like, let's go to Soho House. Let's go dance with my best friend, John. But right now this is feeding my soul. So I'm like, wow, I'm talking to adults who I'm down with my parents right now and I love them, but I'm talking to adults who are not my parents, and I'm not having an after party with 12-year-olds. So like this feels really good. What about you, Antu? How are you staying connected to the people you love, to new people? What are you up to?
Well, I mean, this is definitely not a regular Friday night for me in the pandemic. I'm usually Friday nights is me and my son are usually watching a movie because it's the one night, he doesn't have to get up and go, get up early for remote learning. But I've been doing like Zoom calls here and there, but I do mostly, video calls on my phone with my family members. And I do have like a friend who she wanted to have a birthday get together. So we're going to be doing a Zoom birthday get together for her on Sunday. That's about it. I mean, it's been a lot of hunker down for me. I just have to, I have personally accepted that we're just going to be here for right now. We won't always be like this. But when I really start to get down, I'll give somebody a call if I start to feel lonely. And when I'm not, like some days I will just watch good movies. This has been a great time for me to catch up on movies or shows that I've been meaning to see. Mm-hmm. And I have yet to, I haven't had the time. So that's been good because I'm watching as an actor, I'm watching as a writer, and I feel like I'm still being active even though I'm watching it. So that gives me some sense of, I guess, comfort too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I found myself with that too as an actor. I've been really into scary movies lately. I mean, October just ended, so it makes sense. And at one point I was like, I should probably like learn this monologue or something. And I'm like, but no, one day I want to star in a horror film. And honestly, I watch in a different way too, and I'm learning new things about lighting and film. So I feel like what's great about binge, and you didn't mention binging. You didn't mention binge watching shows.
I do that too.
Okay. I always feel okay with binge watching shows.
I just binged P-Valley not too long ago. Because it was one of those shows that I was like, okay, I'm going to watch it eventually. The show that Katori Hall, made from her play. So I just binged that over the weekend. I do binge, but I want to ask you a question, Najah, because you said you've been into horror films. Did you watch that film Bad Hair? That's on, it's on Hulu, I think. Willow, have you seen it? Or Kevin, I know you're on the private chat, but go ahead and let us know because it's really interesting. You got to see it. I'm curious to see what you think about it since you've been watching horror films. It's about, a woman getting a relaxer.
Oh my goodness.
And it's very like you've never seen anything like it before. And if you've ever had a relaxer or someone, you understand the commentary. You get it. You know why they made those choices. But I didn't expect it to have such horror moments. My son, I kind of laughed at the horror moments because I was like, oh, I get the joke there. But my son was like, why do you have me watching this scary movie? I'm going to have nightmares. I'm leaving. And he actually got up and left the room. So
I had to
watch
check
it. It's very
You said
interesting. It's
called
a horror
Bad
film about, Black women getting relaxers.
Hair,
Huh?
which is, I said it's called Bad Hair.
Mm-hmm.
Uh-oh, we got a lag.
Yeah.
They need to make a horror film about the lag on these streaming sites. But I'm gonna add it to my list for sure because it sounds relatable, and I definitely have friends who've had relaxers. I had a different sort. I had like a little I don't remember what my friends used to call me. But I had, a wave nouveau curl growing up. I loved it. I swore I was from Hawaii with my little curl. Willow, I was looking like you, but we paid for it, and my friends used to call me something. But the smell alone, when you sit through that 3-hour or 8-hour process, the smell alone is a horror film in itself. So I need to watch this movie. I want to chat. I'm not going to keep you guys too long, because I know we're supposed to end at an hour mark. But Kevin also said I could do my thing. But I am curious, Willow, if you can still hear us. I think your Wi-Fi is going in and out. I'm curious what it was like voting for the first time. I just realized as we were chatting, and we talked about you having a Zoom graduation. You voted for the first time, and I remember voting for the first time and feeling so full of pride voting for President Obama. And what was it like? Do you have any pride in your voting? Like, what was this election like for you in terms of being a first-time voter? Sorry, I'm laughing.
I mean, the whole thing with, my generation, Gen Z now, is like settle for Biden. Because, I mean, obviously we don't want Trump. But so, I mean, I guess it was prideful in that, like, I knew that I was going in there and I was doing something to change, like, I mean, I guess the country to the amount that I can as a voter. And I was finally old enough to do it in an election that, like, actually mattered. But I think I would have felt better about it if I was voting for somebody that I, like, truly believed in, rather than voting against somebody that I really don't believe in. So kind of a toss up, but it was good to have a little bit of power in my life.
Yeah. Kevin, come on up. Bring it back, Kevin. We miss you because you're writing in the chat, and I want you to speak.
It's what I do. I write in the chat. I'm just happy to be in community with you all. So you don't have to have me in here, but it's true.
We love you, Kevin.
I love you back.
And you just wrote that that Willow wasn't the only one settling for Biden. So I'm wondering, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I love Joe Biden. I think he's great. I just think that he's 78. I think I don't know. I just think he's he's just an old guy, and I don't want to discriminate against him because he's old, but I do think that though some of the women who were running were people that I could easily support. I could have easily supported Elizabeth Warren. Elizabeth Warren was the only one who talked to me about racism being tied into everything. She talked about it at the beginning of her campaign. Elizabeth Warren sold me when she got on her knees at age 63 on that stage in a town hall, and then stood back up. Because Uncle Kevin can't really do that gracefully. My knees are not doing those sorts of things these days. And so when she did that, I was like, what? Who does that? And she's older than I am. So I loved her. And I started to love Kamala. I'm glad that she's the vice presidential nominee. I started to love her. When she first started, I wasn't a big fan because every time somebody asked her a question, she would say, yeah, let's talk about that, because I think that's something that we need to talk about. And I thought, girl, now's the time. The question has been asked.
Yeah.
Please, let's talk about it. Come on, let's do this.
Let's do it. So talk about it.
But I'm sorry. It's a lag. Sorry. I appreciated Joe Biden telling him to shut up. I appreciated Joe Biden doing the things that Joe Biden was criticized for when he was vice president, and that was being a person who spoke his mind. Right? That was a thing that people criticized him for, and then Trump came up and started speaking his mind and started calling countries shithole countries and started doing all of this stuff and never got any rebuke for any of his tomfoolery. And so I was glad that Joe Biden was able to get in some jabs when it was time. I think the thing that's sad for me about the election is that all we can do is that we're reduced to this winner loser mentality, right? Like even that Avengers video that I shared that I thought was really lovely, that the idea of it is somehow the best thing about it for me is that good to me is triumphing over evil to a certain extent, and that's what it's about. But the other thing is that I don't have faith in American humanity anymore. I don't really believe that. I think Joe Biden is going to be great, but I think that we're going to have another 4 years of a really difficult time, especially if the runoffs in Georgia don't give the Senate a Democratic majority. Because the way the Republicans all said that they hated Donald Trump, but then realized that they could use him as a Trojan horse and get all of this stuff done and have just benefited from all of his policies, that I just don't believe that. I'm not in a place of believing that things will get that much better.
Yeah, absolutely. I was speaking with my father about this probably yesterday, a couple of days ago, and he is 1000%, being used. And I don't say this to, for my heart to go out to him, but everyone is so focused on these two individuals, right? You talk about the winning and the losing. And there are so many who are not seeing that that our humanity is at stake right now. Like it's about the Senate. It's about some of these local elections. My brother is heavily into politics, and he was naming names and policies in and around our hometown in the Hudson Valley area that I wasn't aware of because I have been so hyper focused on other things. He spoke about Elizabeth Warren, and I was, so bummed for a while that she wasn't chosen. And I realized, okay, but let me go ahead and check out some of the other people's. And I will say this, as a 28-year-old coming up in the world, and it has nothing to do with age, but I have gotten so much better at knowing what's going on. Najah knows. Morgan, you could throw that up there. Najah knows. Instagram, you don't have to. But I've gotten better at knowing what's going on. But I still filled out my ballot. Yes, there it is. I still filled out my ballot and didn't know some of the names on there. And that's scary. That's scary. And I'm saying that I'm being vulnerable with everyone. It's scary. And I know that many people are that way. And I want us to actually get aligned with what people's policies are. And I don't want to sound like some of those other people that I don't agree with, but take our country back or build something new, because I was chatting with my mom earlier and the humanity has been dwindling for quite some time. Some say, was America even free, right? Like America was never free to me. Is it that humanity was dwindling, or are people finally taking the blinders off? Right.
When you were talking to your brother about Elizabeth Warren, was he talking about SESTA, the policy that Elizabeth Warren and Cory Booker voted for a law that punishes sex workers, and it really kind of disproportionately affects Black trans women. And there was I remember when someone told me, what she voted for this thing, so she did this really terrible thing. And I think that they both have talked about how they realize now that it's a bad thing that they did, that they voted for something that they thought was a bipartisan thing that was going to do some good, but it turned out it wasn't. It was not doing as the good that they thought it would do.
And I'm here for people actually recognizing their mistakes and calling themselves out and calling people into action. I hate cancel culture when someone did one bad thing. If all of us laid out every single decision we've made that has potentially hurt someone or been poor, I don't think any of us, well, I'll speak for myself. I've done some really wonderful things in my life, and I've made some decisions and said some words and hurt some feelings along the way too. I also know that I'm not in politics, but I just think that we need to be a little bit more, I don't want to say lenient, but understanding. But it goes back to what you said Antu early on, which was people said something about people are so protective over their beliefs. And people don't care what some of these folks have done in the past. I think they want to just call up some past actions of Elizabeth Warren and past actions of Joe Biden because they believe these people will come in between their beliefs. That's my opinion.
Right.
Yeah.
And there's a real fear. I would agree with you that there's a real fear that whatever Elizabeth Warren being elected, what that would represent about where we are, you know, as a majority in this country, like we're actually moving forward, you know. I wanted to address this, you know, I also feel like Biden, I voted for Biden, but not because I was like thrilled, you know. I just understood that for me, this was a better choice than the other choice. But I had difficulty with that vote because I never really got a sense of what his policies are. And I certainly did with some of the other candidates early on. So that leaves me in a place where I feel like I really don't know what to expect these next 4 years. I get the sense that it's going to be like a lot of cleaning up and attempting to kind of undo what's been done or redo what was undone. But I don't know, like, what are the goals going forward? So there is a little bit of a real gray area there for me, but I do feel like it's just on paper and with the words and the images we're seeing that our children are seeing, that we won't be, you know, that what we've been seeing is not going to be so oppressive and visible. Like there'll be an attempt to actually move us forward. So that gives me some relief. But also, and I just want to add this, because I am a citizen of this country, but I immigrated here when I was very young. And the country of my birth right now, you know, several years ago, there was the prime minister, Abiy Ahmed of Ethiopia. And he came in and he had like all this hope. He was about moving things forward. And like, you know, he ended up having like, he was given the Nobel Peace Prize. And two years later, he's basically declared war on his own countrymen and women. And like people of my ethnicity have been they're like right now, since June, people are being taken off the streets, killed, like kidnapped. I mean, that's why when you see my social media, you know, if you scroll down, you'll see that I'm reposting a lot of things from like, you know, Oromo proverbs, and like that's why my profile is red. Because I try to repost so that people know what's going on. And not only did he declare, did his regime, I guess, declare war on my ethnic group, but he recently did it with another ethnic group. And he's no longer actually technically the prime minister. He's canceled elections, you know, because of the pandemic. Okay, so he's legally not supposed to be the prime minister. And I'm just saying this now because a lot of people don't know. And I don't think we in the US will ever find ourselves in that dire of a situation, thankfully, because
maybe,
you know, I hope not. I really hope not. But part of me feels the sense of like, I did my duty. I voted for what I felt was like the better choice. But in the back of my mind, I'm thinking like, I'm looking at Abiy Ahmed, who was an educated man, very articulate, knows how to speak about peace, and a young man. And I'm thinking, how did this get so turned around? And that's what a lot of, you know, so maybe this is me. I don't know what this is because I'm usually a hopeful person, but I'm just looking at like, what can I control? Because obviously I can't do anything but share information.
Right.
You know, and at the same time, I was telling my students the other day, I had a lot of students who voted for the first time. And then they were very like, just anxious about not getting these results. And, you know, I said to them, sometimes as a Black and brown person, like the most revolutionary thing you can do is stay healthy and stay well and stay happy. So that doesn't mean that your activism, you know, that activism is not even though it doesn't look like someone who's protesting in the streets, it's still a sense of activism because you're deciding that I'm going to do this so that I can be here for the long haul. You know, if you want to go out and you want, and you have the space, by all means do that. But if you start to feel like this is so heavy on me, I'm going to implode, then you have to say, no, this is my way of standing up and doing something to make things better for myself and my community. I'm going to, like your niece said, Najah, I'm going to breathe. I'm going to drink water. I'm going to pray. I'm going to listen to Spotify, you know, whatever, because I got to be here tomorrow and the next day and the next day, no matter what these people that we're electing do or don't do.
Yes.
Yes.
That's true. That's true.
I mean, honestly, there's nothing more to be said because I keep finding myself looking towards the future and wondering, okay, Stacey Abrams, look, thinking about all these wonderful people, but we have to take care of ourselves. We have to take care of ourselves so that we are there to vote in the future. To, you know, someone said, you just said it too, but someone said a form of activism is self-care, right? Is rest.
Right.
So I love that you are telling these young people that, and that you just told everyone who's listening now. It's so important. So important. Kevin, were you going to say something?
No, I was about to raise my hand up and start shouting.
Woo!
Antu is preaching a word, honey. Yeah, no, oh, maybe I was going to say, yes, I'm going to go make myself a smoothie as soon as the show is done.
Yes.
I'm going to stay well. It's going to be a beautiful vegan cherry smoothie. I think I'm thinking that's what it is.
Send some to us. We need it. I love it.
It's my dinner.
Well, I will always remember. Oh, I'm sorry.
No, go for it. We're having fun. We kicking it.
Anytime I think of Kevin, I think of we were doing a reading one, like one of the last few times I was at the table in a room. We were doing the reading of this play that you were directing, and you had these apple crisps that you had made in the oven, and you let me try one. It was so delicious.
Weren't they wonderful?
I don't know, that memory always.
Oh, they were
so. Think about that.
I'm going to make some more, I think. That's maybe I'll make some this weekend. I'm going to tell you, speaking of that play, I am no longer involved with that play after that reading, after that.
Because you spoke your mind and they couldn't take it. It needed a lot of
work. Were you there the day that I presented all of my cuts?
I was there 2 days out of the 3.
So there was like for 15 minutes, I went through and cut and changed and said, we're going to move this line to here. It took me 15 minutes to do that. And then we read it and everybody was like, oh, this makes sense. He was like, after everybody left the room, he was like, nope.
Well, you're going to meet people like that sometimes, work with people, but at least you're not stopping speaking your mind. You're hearing that, Willow? You're listening to that, Willow? Speak your mind no matter what.
It was a process where I brought the smartest and most talented Black people that I know to come in and tell a white man who'd written a play that's about race.
Right. He wrote Black characters. I mean, you have to have like real ego to say, no, thank you. Because that's the whole reason. I mean, we live in 2020. You just can't be a white writer writing Black characters and not getting feedback from people who actually, you know, like these characters are supposed to be reflecting, or they're, you know what I mean? Or at least some sense of their culture and identity.
Or not listening to the feedback that you're getting. I mean, that was the big thing, was that he just wasn't listening. And I was like, I'm pretty sure that's why I'm here. I'm pretty sure the reason we've been working on this for a year is this issue. And so it is a thing where, I mean, it's fascinating because this white man identified himself as the Black character that the play is centered around. That is how he feels, which I think is really lovely and really beautiful. But at the same time, is not realistic in terms of the way we are in this world. which is and I part of the reason I brought it up is that very reason, is that I think that white people believe that there are two settings, right? Either white people are someone to be glorified or they're just awful people. And so what they do is that when they write black characters, they do the same thing. Either they're like these saints that have nothing, or they're like awful people. And then it's really difficult for them when I said, what does this character do? Why does this character? Well, what he does is he sticks his knife in the table. Oh, okay. And it's a thing where I just believe that I just in the moment that I was trying to explain to him, I said, did you hear? Antu said, I am a mother. I would never do this to my son. He's been gone for how long? It was a whole thing. But they won't, the white people who center whiteness in black characters aren't thinking about that center of whiteness is the point.
And that's the whole reason why people don't understand that it's not enough to not be racist. That's why so many of them don't understand anti-racism and bias. They think, well, I voted for Obama, or I adopted a black son. They cannot separate. And this is not a generalization, but it's many individuals cannot separate themselves. It goes back to what you said about good and bad.
And that's it. And because I voted for Obama, I'm a good person and I've done the thing.
Yeah.
But, I support the movement for Black Lives, but the minute property gets destroyed, I could never support you ever again. Whether it's somebody from that movement destroying property. If one of the things that's important for me with this show is for me to tell the black and brown people on the show, this is your show. You can do whatever you want. Mm-hmm. And I don't care if the white folks who are on the show have a problem with me saying that. You know what I mean? Like, it's because this is what this show is.
Yeah.
This is what this show is. And it should be okay for us to do that, for us to have a space to have these conversations.
And what a wonderful conversation we have had. It is the 9:30 mark and my stomach is grumbling. Although I love it, we can continue this talk. I just heard the grumble and I said, ooh, and that's the button right there. Kevin just gave me the button.
Work that transition, Najah.
Yes. I would love to just hear, at one point we were talking about healing and how that can be a form of activism. I have a closing short little piece that I'm going to share, but I would love to hear from each of you. What are you going to do this weekend for just yourself, whether it's turning off the TV? Like, what will you do to either start healing, continue to heal, or just like drink a smoothie and feel good? What are you going to do for yourself this weekend? Kevin, I'm starting with you.
My partner and I have been volunteering for Animal Lighthouse Rescue, and we transport foster animals from either their foster homes or to their forever homes. And on Sunday, we're picking up a couple of kittens in New Jersey and driving them to Brooklyn. Driving them to Brooklyn? We're driving them somewhere to their forever home. And every time we do that, I feel it's nice to be able to not be thinking about anything else but these sweet little animals they're all adopted from Puerto Rico. Like, they have all these stray animals in Puerto Rico and they're flown in. And so that's what I'm going to do for myself.
That's beautiful.
Wow. Yep.
Drive one straight to Willow in Brooklyn.
Yes.
Willow, what about you? What are you going to do to take care of yourself this weekend?
Friday really snuck up on me, but I have a new book that I've really been wanting to read. So I think I'm going to sit down and try to get a couple chapters in just to relax and, try to do some learning in my year off.
Yes. I hope you learned some stuff tonight. People were taking us to church. Antu, what about you? And also, speaking of reading, I don't think I know the last time I read for just myself. So thank you for that reminder. I need to read as well. What about you, Antu? What will you do just for you, or you and your son, but really just for you?
Yeah, I think I'm going to hang up I got some new frames. I had frames that had fallen during the pandemic and they just cracked. So I'm going to put the pictures in the new frames and hang them up.
I love it.
Looking forward to that.
A completed task. Yes. Awesome. That's wonderful. And I'm gonna sleep in tomorrow. I'm going to
Yes.
sleep in tomorrow. I'm excited.
Do it.
Awesome. Beautiful. So I'm gonna do a little closing, and I had something else planned, but when Auntie was speaking about healing, I said, no, I'm gonna share this. And this is particularly for my Black brethren, my Black brothers and sisters, and folks who are listening. So
Do you want Morgan to take us out of here?
oh yeah, Morgan, take them out. Close up on me. You guys are great. I'll speak to you too. Antu and Willow are incredible, and Kevin, it was really wonderful to chat with you. And this is just my message. I wrote it on June 6th, 2020 at 3:34 a.m. And it still is relevant today, and it will be relevant till the day I die. Black people, heal, heal, heal. This, all of this, is nothing new to us. Continue to laugh with your families and have movie marathons. Sign off. Choose not to post if you don't have it in you. We didn't just wake up and decide to tell our stories. Everyone else decided it was finally time to listen. Are they still listening? Heal. Black people sleep, hydrate, and glow. Our job is simply to be, to live. It's their job right now to grow. If we haven't already been killed, we've been learning to survive and handle the pain. I won't go into what we've been taught to do in order to survive, because this is for you, not them. But I will say this. It is not enough to simply survive. We need to thrive. We need to thrive. So I say, let's heal, my brothers and sisters, and let's shine. My girl Christina told me that I was a star and that my mom was a supernova. And you should already know this, but in case you forget, anyone listening, we are all the constellations across the galaxies. I'll say that again. We are all of the constellations across the galaxies. Bringing the gifts that our ancestors gave, we are the hopes and the dreams of the slave. Sister Maya taught us to rise, so let's do that and let's continue to shine. I am Black. I am beautiful. Watch me shine. Watch me shine. Watch me shine. I love you all, and I truly mean that. Heal and continue to shine. Thank you so much for tuning in today to the Reparations Show. This was wonderful. We laughed. None of us cried, which is wonderful, but if you need to cry, go ahead and do that. And thank you to everyone who helped out with this. Thank you, Morgan, for getting that behind the scenes, making it flow. Thank you, Erez, Joey, and of course, thank you, Nyla, for putting together the promos. Everybody, go watch your movies, go sleep, and go drink your smoothies. Have a good night.